Standing behind me lies an incredible piece of World War II history on a hill overlooking Romney Marsh, which is probably my favourite place in all of England to visit. Now this place has got a special significance to me. I will tell you more about that, but let's explore. I won't tell you just yet, you might have guessed from the title, but wait, because this is quite a nice one to explore, so stay with me and let's go have a look. Hello, so we are inside a World War II observation post, and it's a really special one because it has the illusion of it being a pillbox. In fact, it has also been labelled as a pillbox, but what makes this really special and really unique is obviously what it looks out onto, which is the Romney Marsh. And it follows the Southeastern Command's route, which would have been from Rye to Sandgate, which would have been the stop line which they would have had situated here. And this observation post / pillbox, technically, because it is fortified, overlooks this amazing stretch here. And behind us would have been a potential, I think there was a gun battery that was situated behind us. And obviously, as you're probably aware of, obviously, if you've been around Romney Marsh, loads and loads of pillboxes anyway. But this one is buried right inside the crest of a hill. I say hill, it's we are quite high up, and it is an escarpment, really, because the hill does flat plateau at the top and then graduates still further up. In fact, actually, the hill is called Knock Hill, Knock. But look at the condition of this is really what I want to sort of bring to your attention. The condition in here is remarkable. So we assume that probably would have been either utilities or potentially a toilet. And then as you walk in, you've got two observable points which are split into half. So you can see there, it's like I said, it's strange because it has been labelled as a pillbox, but we also know that it has also been labelled as a forward observation post for artillery, or more importantly for mortar artillery. So really its main role here would have been to observe military enemy troop movement. So you've got to imagine that obviously if Germany had come across from the Romney Marsh area, in fact, right in front of us, Finger of Doom, is the nuclear power station at Dungeness, and then Rye is just to our right down there, and then Appledore is to our left. But it is the prime location for an observation post, and obviously because it can be fortified, so you can imagine that there would have or could have been machine guns here. But as you can notice, it is just in remarkable condition. There's still wooden panelling here from where they probably would have had benches and also to monitor. I mean, there's a cabling, looks like a cable vent there. And then outside, you may have already seen it, but they've got concrete sandbags. It's just a remarkable piece of history that forms this stop line. There's the wooden frame for the door with the hinge there, or at least one of the hinges. But you can also notice that to actually get in here, you do have to duck quite significantly. Oh, like that. And then all of a sudden you open up onto this. What an incredible piece of history. Now, I did mention in this video that I have a personal connection. I will end with that. Well, I will leave that at the end because it's not a great story, but it's just a story that obviously I love. As you can see there as well, can you see that's an original barbed wire, stake really, I suppose, because obviously you have to stake it into the ground, but obviously you can imagine you've got barbed wire that would have been fixed into that. And then on top, you can see these concrete sandbags. Basically, there's one that's down here I call them concrete sandbags. And this is the outside actually is way worse condition than it was on top. And if you can look above, you can have a nosy and picture all these little sandbags that are here. It's a remarkable thing. There's some here on the side as well to shore up this side, to also help it from, you can imagine this could have easily been camouflaged. And there's also, what I've noted, little slits there which I would assume would have probably been slits for maybe, I'm just saying maybe, some shutters that might have come down, or a shutter, like maybe a hinge that would have just come down flat onto that. There's not one on this side, but doesn't mean that there wasn't one on the inside. But there's the two slits, and then as you notice, like I said, you crawl in. I mean, that's the crazy part about it, is you actually crawl into this. Like we said before, I mean, that could have been a toilet, could have been just some sort of like, just, you know, utilities stuff. But it's interesting because of the fact that it has been labelled as a pillbox. But then the best report that I'd sort of seen, in the report that makes sense, is actually being an observation post. Because really, if you think about where you are, a little pillbox here isn't going to do much good. But if you have an observation post, and then, which was also noted, but it wasn't a fixed one, which I think was a gun battery at the top of the hill, near the top of the hill, probably would have, I've got a funny feeling, I might be wrong on this, so, you know, it happens from time to time, but I think there was like a diver battery, maybe. I've got a funny feeling on that one. But again, it all would have made sense. And if you can look, when you look across Romney Marsh as well, I mean, there are definite pillboxes that are here, and this one isn't. This one looks like one, but it just doesn't have the same feel as a normal pillbox because of its location. And also, although the slits are perfect for aiming down and aiming across, really this just would have served more as an observation post, just to, like I said, you've got a perfect view. You can imagine if God forbid, sea lion, and obviously sea lion was the main German sort of operation that would have taken place should Germany would have invaded. But any form of invasion across this part of the southeast coast, this place would have been perfect because of how well kept it is and how camouflaged it is, really. Down there also, to make note, if you can see the cars in that tree line, that's the Royal Military Canal, which I've mentioned that I will do a very special video on at some point, which is just one of the most iconic pieces of defence that we have in the Kent and Sussex towns, really, but I will come back to that at some other point. I'm so grateful I've come to do this one because it has been on my list to do, just to sort of see it for myself, to sort of picture what this would have been like. I've never actually been into this one either, so I mean, like I said, all of this is a new experience. And obviously with the military canal, it would have linked up to the River Rother, which we've sort of been close to before as well. So I mean, again, there's, you know, you've got these iconic pieces of history that are sort of literally within a stone's throw away from each other. You've still, like I said, got this wooden panelling. The fact that it's, I mean, when I was doing my research into it, my first thing was that I'd always assumed that it was a pillbox. And then digging deeper into it a little bit, they reckon that it could have been, or should have been, an observation post, which just makes more sense to me. And now that you're in it, it just feels like it is. It feels more like one than anything else. But obviously, as with any observation post, they could have been used as a form of defence. And I think that's the thing we need to stress on these, is that observation posts were fortified. And we've seen that again on other videos before. So they would have been used as defence anyway. And they would have looked, or they have looked like, as we've seen before, look like obviously pillboxes or fortifications again. Like, again, Fort Henry, for example, that we visited. If you've not seen the channel, go back and check out Fort Henry. Obviously the largest observation post that we had in England. Beautiful construction, beautiful. But again, although that was an observation post, that also would have been used as defence. And obviously technically these observation posts were for defence because they had to observe incoming. So yeah, But it also, the other thing I wanted to sort of mention is that there is an amazing, there's amazing stories and history all around Romney Marsh, as you're probably well aware. It's my favourite place in the whole of the world, so I'm very familiar with this area. And there was a lot of V1, V2 rockets that had actually fallen within the whole of this marsh. So you can also imagine that this observation post, for example, would have been perfect for looking out onto the sky. I mean, you can imagine on a day like today, look at that. It's almost just picture perfect for seeing. Imagine if there was Germans coming over. We're not too far away from RAF Rye, Chain Home, which again I've done a video on. So if you haven't seen that, go back, because we're not too far away from that. An amazing Chain Home link site there, pivotal in the history of World War II defence in England. And here we are in this humble little, I'm going to call it the observation post. I mean, you know, although it does look like it does have the appearance of a pillbox, I do believe that it is more of an observation post. And I think for most people, they'll probably hopefully like to agree if you compare it with others. But it's just beautiful. So yeah, just beautiful. Careful not to impale myself on the barbed wire spike there. I think weather and time's obviously seen better days on this as well from the outside. I mean, you can imagine how exposed we are to Romney Marsh, how high we are up. Obviously the weather and the elements and stuff at some point's taking its toll. I've got to be very careful where I tread. It's deceptively high up here, as you can imagine, and it's full of little rabbit holes and everything else. So I'm just going to tell you a brief little piece of my own personal history on this place. I've sort of briefly mentioned it anyway. There's no real story to this. So my favourite place in the whole of the world is Rye, and I've driven around the Romney Marsh area for couple of decades plus now, ever since I could drive. And this place here has always been a bit of a strange one for me, because like I said, this is the first time I've ever come into it, and I've always seen it from down across that road. You can see Finger of Doom, and I've always questioned what it is. And it gives me that personal history, because it's that thing of like, I'm very familiar with it looking out from here, but actually to come in and visit it is a totally different experience. So that's my personal connection with it. I mean, I know that now, every time I go to Rye or Appledore or this area of Romney Marsh, I know that I'm probably going to come back and actually go, oh, I visited that now. Do you know what I mean? I can tick this off, and what a treat. I had an idea that it would have been in fairly good condition, and like I said, it is. I know some of you might debate that, but the amount of wooden panelling that's here gives us a better indication than it is, rather than it wouldn't be. The only thing that saddens me, however, is there is a lot of litter on the floor. I mean, Doritos packets, Red Bull cans. It's sad, really, that even in a place as small as this, you can still find human habitation that's modern. Corona bottles there. So sad for such an iconic piece of history on the Romney Marsh. But yeah, I think I've covered all the history for you, and I'm honestly really pleased. I mean, like I said, the fact that there is a lot in here that still exists, which gives you a better indication, knowing that some of this obviously would have been used as tabling, etc., etc. You can imagine at one point the people who were stationed here would have been really cold, freezing, you know, on those winter days, but not too far away from the farmsteads that are around here. But yeah, it's this haunting, magical quality to it, this place. Wow, I said haunting and magical in a sentence. Talking about this place, it's got to be special. It really is. I'm just grateful I've come here to document it. So hopefully I've given you enough history. I talked about the stop line. I talked about its significance in the landscape. I talked about its location. I talked about its significance in the location of the landscape. I talked to you about the two options that it would have been, a pillbox or an observation post. I think we're pretty adamant now that due to where it is in its location, it's more likely an observation post, although it does obviously straddle the Royal Military Canal, which we know has got a few pillboxes on its little stretch of water. I say little stretch, quite a long stretch, all around the surrounding area. and also gave you the notion that, from what I remember, that there was a gun battery. It might have been a light diver one that was situated at the back. So in other words, there wouldn't be any remains of that that's here. Because if it was, I'd like to think I would have done a video on it by now, at least, anyway. But, you know, as I've always mentioned before, it's okay sometimes to be wrong. So there we go. World War II history in a small scale, but such a beautiful scale. So what I'll do is I'll end on seeing you up at the top, and then we can look down. Sounds cool, doesn't it? Come on now. Okay, so we're now standing on top, and excuse the wind, even though I've got a wind muff on today, it is a proper gale, and obviously you can understand why it's so. We are very high up, which again adds to the thing of it being more of an observation post. And yeah, here's our little concrete sandbags that we have, and wow, such a special location. It's an amazing view, even for me. It's actually one of these views that I love. It really just symbolised everything I love about this area. Whew, except for the wind though. We don't do the wind on this channel. Anyway, hopefully you really enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for coming along with me. It was a real treat, just for the personal thing that I can finally say, the amount of times I've driven past it, that I've actually visited it now. I've actually seen it, I've actually gone in, and it was really good condition, in my opinion. So again, I just want to reiterate, you know, this is some of the stuff that was in there is just my opinion from what I thought it looked like, or what it kind of looked like. So just hopefully you understand that that's just from my experience of looking at things, etc, etc, looking through the historical records. There wasn't much, but I do feel like I've really giving you quite a good flavour of this place, and this tiny site again that in World War II would have had a vital role, and I really mean vital. So in the immortal words of Phoenix history, thank you so much. Hopefully I was right on most of it. I'd like to think so, but if I was wrong, it's okay, like I said. But the information, however, like I said, that I gave you, I'm pleased with. I'm pleased with what I've given you. Anyway, any more words of Phoenix history, because history matters. Love to all of you out there, and I'll see y'all very soon. Take care for now. Ready? Come on in. Kapow! See ya.